In this conversation, we meet serial entrepreneur and small business champion Anthony Karibian. He shares his fascinating journey, detailing his experiences from founding two tech businesses before launching bOnline 13 years ago. He discusses the challenges faced during the dot-com bubble, the importance of having absolute clarity on what pain points your business solves, and how he has switched his business now to be a technology platform that hosts best-in-class products to future-proof his offer. He also highlights the importance of external investment to aid growth and how his leadership style has created a company culture that naturally drives growth as a team. Enjoy. Morning. Today we welcome Anthony Karibian from a business called bOnline, which we'll hear a lot more about. But Anthony, thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So we've got a bit of a tradition. We kick off because they like to know the person and the face behind the business and to understand that you just didn't rock up one day as a co-founder and CEO of many businesses, which we'll dig into. So I think it's nice if the listeners could get a bit of an understanding of how you've got to where you are today.
Okay, well, I'll take you all the way back. I was born in London. I grew up in Africa and then went to university in America. And after a few years of working, I came back to London. And that's when I started my first business. So it all started 1 or 2 miles down the road in Putney Bridge. It was a small office called Riverbank House, and we started Euroffice, an online office supplies company, right at the outset of the first internet boom. So that was in the late 90s. I know it sounds a long time ago, but it was when the internet was just starting off, and everyone was starting up a business. And you had grandmothers talking about, I'm investing in this startup and that startup. It was an exciting time.
I'm going to say, but yeah, without aging ourselves, that was that first dot-com boom, wasn't it? I did one of the podcasts with Neil Bartholomew, who's the MD of KCOM, who are up in Hull, who offer the broadband and the business and VoIP services. And it was very interesting when we're talking about dial-up and like people. The websites in those days were a little bit more basic than they are nowadays, aren't they? Because there just wasn't the bandwidth to be able to run those things.
In fact, that was one of our biggest challenges. It was all dial-up. So the experience of buying office supplies online was nowhere close to what you see today. It was, everything was really slow. But yeah, that's those days.
So that's your first one, and as people find out, you've had a few goes at building businesses, which is wonderful. So after Euroffice, what did you move on to next?
So Euroffice, very challenging because those were the days when the whole internet bubble came down, and we survived through that. We saw many businesses shut down, and we were 3 founders, and 2 of us left we got a phone call one day from a telecoms company trying to sell us phone service. And so we met them, and we realized that there's this massive opportunity with deregulation. BT OpenReach, at the time, it was really BT, was being forced to open up access. And so this was the first phase of deregulation. And so you had hundreds of telecoms companies starting up to sell what was called line rental and calls. You could sell everything at once and buy it straight from BT, and later it was called OpenReach. So massive opportunity with deregulation. We met these guys, we eventually partnered with them, and Christian and I left Euroffice. My brother stayed on, so it was a way for us, because he kept running Euroffice with the VC that had invested. And we started XLN. We walked down the street, we made up a few brochures. We had no product, and we were able to sign up 3 customers. We called them back, said, sorry, we can't deliver for a few months, but at least we knew we could sell this product. there was a demand. And so, within a few months, we launched XLN Telecom, and very hectic, chaotic first 2 years. We grew really fast. We didn't have an infrastructure. This other company, we outsourced everything to this other company that eventually we bought, One Bill. It was called One Bill. We bought, and within 5 years, we had signed up 130,000 small business customers. So it was,
Whoa.
yeah.
That's some
So
trajectory of growth, isn't it?
we had more small business customers than anyone else other than BT. So it was a massive success. And then we did a management buyout, and then sold the company to a private equity fund around 2010.
Okay.
So yeah, big success. It was all about we were the first company to automate everything, the provisioning, the whole customer service, and so we were able to go out with really low prices, great service for the small business. These small businesses had never had such a great service, low price, that combination of attention. We were just
Yeah.
just focused on small businesses
So the
and
market was,
focus.
sorry, go
Sorry.
on and see.
So focusing on one sector was what we did different from everyone
Yeah.
else. Everyone else just served the entire market from corporate to the home office, small
That's
office.
brilliant. Exact that you've answered my question to a degree because that's what business. So you were basically selling the same product that a big multinational could have bought, but you basically set up all of your service and delivery to meet the smaller two or three people type setups and a bit bigger. But it's interesting, isn't it? Then you became a true expert. So when you were talking to these guys, you knew what you were trying to solve, weren't you?
That's right. They have different challenges. They have different needs, and we were selling the same thing. It was line rental initially
Yeah.
and calls,
Same
and then
product, wasn't it, from the same
very
provider?
basic, just reselling. And then we added eventually there was broadband, ADSL, FTTC. So yeah, it was despite that because of the focus and we're addressing all the pain points of the micro and small business. We're able to make a success out of it, and
Yeah.
even your whole sales force, the way you sell, the way you package everything is just right for the small business.
And did you bring learnings from your office into that? Because I'm assuming you were dealing with a similar sized customer initially at your office.
Yes, we did, especially on the sales side.
Yeah.
Whether you're selling office supplies or telecoms, it's still the exact same customer, and absolutely price matters, and they expect great service. These are business
Hmm.
owners. They're not. It's not consumers or
Yeah.
so that combination of low price, high service level. Well, your cost of service high, so you don't make much margin unless you automate the entire
Yeah.
operations,
Yeah.
and
But I
that's
think,
what we got right.
yeah, but having that understanding that although you're saying it's a resold service, it actually is business critical to them, isn't it? So if there is a problem with the phones or the internet, now our world collapses.
Yeah.
In fact, when the internet goes, your phone goes now, as we'll come
It's,
into with the latest business. But yeah, we're now sort of slightly dependent on this pipe that comes
much
into our
much more
office, aren't we?
much more dependent on the technology. Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. So XLN was the telecom business that ended, you say, about 2010, 2011, and then
That's
you
right.
kicked off your latest venture, which has been
Yeah.
been. I mean, quite for you, 13 years. It's been there quite a long time now, Anthony. So
Yeah,
tell us a bit
so
about that.
so bOnline. After a year, I started bOnline as a web DIY platform, and within 4 years, we decided, it's oversaturated. There's some big players with 10, 100 times more funding, and that was a good lesson. You get into a business. Um, it's great to be the small, fast-moving player, but if the other players have so much more funding and they're still, the growth companies, they look like startups. it's a huge challenge to break into that market. So
Yeah.
we shifted back to broadband. We said we'd add broadband as a product and then sell, get customers to use the website platform. But very quickly we realized the phone market, line rental, will change. The copper lines they're becoming obsolete. So we jumped into the VoIP, voice over IP market. These are digital phones instead of the PSTN copper lines. And we started with reselling WebEx, which is broad cloud.
Yeah.
It was a very reliable system, but there was just no automation. Everything was manual, so we couldn't scale. When you get to 10 customers per day, you sign up. It's just manual intensive, and so it was costing too much. You just couldn't do that. These products were all built for corporate customers. So we built all the automation around it and switched to another partner who could allow us to automate everything with APIs. They had an open system. We had that partner for a few years, and then we changed to an open source platform that is fantastic. And this is our new product. It's completely open. It's open source. Everything's API based. And so it's very flexible. We're in the process of launching CRM integration, which means from your CRM, you get someone calls, it pops up the name, it gives you all the information. We're launching call recording with sentiment analysis. You can search for bad calls, good calls. If you're a restaurant owner or you're just we had a hair salon just telling us that, they just look for, if they have to verify anything, everything's recorded. If a customer calls in and they say they argue about something, they just pull the recording now, and it gives them peace of mind. But the AI part is very interesting. The AI part tells you where you have bad calls. Customers are unhappy. It gives you a synopsis of the call. You can search on that. You can search on transcripts.
Wow.
You can search on keywords. So really advanced. We're bringing AI to the micro and small business, and that's exciting.
And an actual practical use of it, rather than just saying the letters and assuming it's all the magic will happen.
Exactly. It's practical. And this is where we come in. We can take Google's AI. We don't have to develop the whole AI, invent it. It's there. But we take all the call recordings, put it into Google AI, and then we come up with all the things we think that are important for a restaurant, a hair salon, or even a small accountancy.
You try and tailor that then with the data by sector, so that like you say, because it's very different.
We are looking at sector. The next move is, you're basically giving me our roadmap.
Sorry.
But no, that's the right idea. That's where we want to go. Is for each industry, we'll have very specific requirements.
So that's interesting. So you are basically you're not building anything. So you go back to the old days where I think you actually built a website system, didn't you? That
built a whole platform, which was very expensive.
I read a bit that was quite a painful financial time.
Very, very painful. Yeah, you've got
it's all right. If people not on video, you can see that Anthony's twitching when he says that.
Well, that was a mistake. We have to, you have to accept and move on. We reinvented the wheel. This is why we have the open source for VoIP.
Yeah.
We're not rebuilding the apps. The apps are there already. There's a company, it's a fantastic company that's they are the open source gurus, and they've taken that, they've curated it, built the APIs so that we can consume it. Very easily. So you don't want to reinvent what's there already. What we've built is all the zero touch, the automated, you come onto our website, start a trial, you put London, you get all the 0208, 0207 numbers, you choose it, and within 2 minutes, you've downloaded the apps, you've gone to our portal, you can type in your greeting, you type it in, you listen to it, very professional sounding, choose your business hours, and you have a professional phone system.
That's brilliant.
And that's 2 minutes versus 3 days if you went to BT or someone else,
And still not,
or
and then still
WebEx.
not getting that interface that actually works
You,
either. Yeah,
you won't get the interface. You have to call them and pay for the greetings. And so
yeah,
that's how we did it with WebEx. We used to charge £100 for professional greeting. We'd outsource that, and now you just type it. It's free, and
scary.
that's the great thing about being able to give more to the small business owner, where it's that magic of,
Well, they've never had that love
it's all
before, have they? They've always got the
never,
scraps off the
never.
table because people are like, well, we're set up for the bigger businesses, and yeah, we'll
Yeah,
sort something out for you.
and they get the
Else,
price increases and really poor support normally
yeah,
because they don't pay enough. So most companies just, there's a competitor that they've shut down the phones. They said, if you're a small business, you send us a chat message. That's your only support.
yeah,
And
which isn't
that's what,
annoying at all. So I
especially if it's
suppose
bots.
that also, I mean, this is the longest introduction we've done, but sorry, we've got into the meat of it because it's fascinating. That also future proofs the bOnline business, doesn't it? Because if someone comes out with a better way of doing what you offer, or as you offer wider products, I'm assuming you can plug it into your ecosystem quite seamlessly.
Absolutely. We're adding SMS and WhatsApp integration. We'll have it by
Yeah,
December. That's a great example of, customers are asking. Surprisingly, there's more and more customers asking for WhatsApp integration.
yeah,
Usually it's a big business. It's something, you see with John Lewis, they have WhatsApp customer
yeah.
service, but we're seeing small businesses ask for this. So now in January, you'll be able to see your WhatsApp messages on our phone app, along with your chat messages and phone calls.
That's
So
brilliant.
you can run a small business from home,
Yeah,
and you have everything
and it
on
feels
a mobile.
like a proper established business. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's not, but yeah, the idea that there's still the concept of a landline. People think, oh, they must have a big office. It's like, what's he
Well,
saying?
you can also, within 5 minutes, you can add the call menus, which makes you sound much bigger. Press
Yeah,
one for sales, two for accounts. And you may just have two or three staff
yeah.
members. So
Let's not go too far with that one because that is another annoyance the other way, isn't it? When you got 19 options, then you go, hang on, what was that third
yeah,
one again? Amazing. So, looking back on that history, you've like I was talking to you earlier, you've sort of been the champion of the small business. Is that how you started, or was it thinking you had a business and you weren't getting served, or was it that you just saw an opportunity that is somewhere that people aren't giving any love to?
I think it's whenever you start a business, you're solving a pain point. You're solving a problem. And from my perspective, and I don't haven't dealt with big corporate customers in the past. Where I see most of the pain is the small business. In fact, if you look at VoIP providers, there's almost no competition in our space, 1 to 5 users. No one can compete in that space unless you have a zero touch system and you have a really slick operation. You'll never make money in
Yeah,
that space.
yeah,
We sell line rental plus unlimited calls for £10, under £10. BT sells line rental for £20 without calls,
without any
twice.
calls. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And when you have a fault, you pay for an engineer. And we have 45 features on there. So it's the it's where the pain is. It's where these customers have just been, there's no attention. There's most companies just tempted to move up the chain to,
yeah,
10, 50 employees, where it's the same effort to get a sale, but you're charging, much more.
yeah. But no, there's just a brilliant thing. So, will you look to widen and deepen the offer that you give? And yeah, I've seen you're packaging stuff up now, aren't you, in terms of mobile data as well? I've seen on the site and stuff.
Yes, yes.
So is that the idea that once you've got probably a brilliant vision of what your customer looks like and what needs they have, and as they grow as businesses, then hopefully you can you've built that trust, haven't you, with them to sell. It's got to be related, I'm sure, but
Yeah, it's very tricky. It's a very it's a big question that we ask ourselves almost on a weekly basis. You know, should we be doing this? Should we be adding call recording? Yes,
yeah,
the answer is yes now, but does it complicate the very basic phone service that we're trying to sell? You know, 50% will just get a basic phone service.
yeah,
But our it's really our goal to move all these customers from a very basic service. That's what they know from the last 10, 20 years they've ran businesses
yeah.
to something that's so much more productive and beneficial for their business. And there's this whole education and training, and that's why we have a full onboarding. Every customer that signs up, we take them through an onboarding training process. So we make sure they're set up properly and they know they can do all these other things.
Brilliant. So then you don't
Otherwise,
get all of the queries, then, do you? If you're given the
well,
information up
exactly.
front. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I love it. I love
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
I suppose it's interesting, isn't it? You're right. Brands do this a lot where they try and stretch their brand too much and then break the link
Yeah.
to what there was a reason and the core reason that the customer chose you in the first place.
Yeah.
So, like you say, adding voice recording, adding sentiment and all of that, well, that's just making the core service even better. It's related. They get why you've come to them. But if you
Yeah.
suddenly went, I'm going to sell you some flowers for your office, they might be, hang on, what are you on about? It would break that you don't
Yeah.
have a right to do that.
And so many companies, all the big players, the mostly US companies that you hear, Vonage, and they've all moved up. They've
Yeah,
complicated their products so much, and then they realize they can't sell to the small business. It's just
yeah.
the small business doesn't have an IT department. They don't have a systems admin. You know, it's the
Yeah.
owner. They need
It's
to
the
be able
owner
to do
who's doing
everything.
between dealing with
Doing
customers, making
everything.
this, mending a car, whatever he does. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
they're
she
the
does. Yeah.
salesperson, they're the accountant, they're everything. And you know, you have to also appreciate, just take a restaurant, how difficult it is to run a restaurant. You have so many challenges in a day. And the last thing they need is to learn to use a phone system
Yeah.
or have a phone system that's not reliable,
Yeah.
that requires, and so, you know, you have to, these are customers very different than a corporate customer who just, they don't rely as much on their phones and
So
different needs.
do you have a champion within the organisation that is always making everyone remember just who your customer is and that we've got to just keep focused, or is that done by a
Uh,
collective team?
there's a head of product, but surprisingly, our CTO is always pushing back. He keeps saying, "Well, how many customers want this?"
Yeah.
And if you don't give him a good reason, we just don't do it. You know,
It's not
there's
getting on the dev schedule there, is it now?
well, you know, you get a customer with 10 or 20 staff, and they want this and that. They make a list of requirements. You have to be ready to say no
Yeah.
and lose that customer in order to save the thousands of other customers that
Yeah.
have a great experience.
So I'm
It's very
assuming,
difficult
yeah.
to say
Uh,
no and lose that
well,
business.
going back to that brand stretch problem, that's what happens. People go, oh, quick, there's something shiny over there. And you go, and then you
Exactly.
just forget everything. And then suddenly it's like, oh, this has all gone a bit wrong now. Yeah. No,
And
no,
we
it is.
have almost on a weekly basis, a salesperson will spend days on a 50 user company. And now we've banned that. We've said, you know, over 10, you don't deal with that. You'll spend a month doing nothing but that. And then eventually you know, they shouldn't really come to us because there's better
That,
players with
yeah,
for them.
that's right. Yeah. And it's, you are that first stage. Okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming from what I know of your business and what I know that COVID probably was nearly a bit of a springboard for this type of product where the way that people worked changed obviously overnight and has not gone back to normality as we knew it in our earlier careers.
Yeah, more so for us internally. We realized that we're actually very productive working from home. And
Okay.
so we still have an office, but yeah, you know, it's 2 days in the office, 3 days max, and we just became so much more efficient with
Hmm.
video calls instead of, having 2, 3 meetings. Everyone has like, and we're much more collaborative than being in an office and everyone's doing their work. Now it's just all day. All the teams are working really well together. We have we have a product team. We have that includes a design team. They need to be working with all the other teams and making sure that the amount of data that we have in the business is just compared to, if I compare to XLN in the old days, it's probably 100 times more data. We measure
Wow.
everything. Every customer call has a customer satisfaction score with comments, you know, and with a tag saying what was broken so we can make sure that we fix it and we don't get that phone call again
Yeah,
from another
because
customer.
the system works. That's the thing, isn't it? You can get all that data if you don't actually apply it and change. Right, we've got a
And
pattern here. How do we retrain, or how do we change, or how do we get a different supplier? Yeah.
yeah,
So you've
you need to. We have daily meetings going over all the customer data and head of product, CTO, and it's really nice to get everyone. And it also, they're more in touch with the customer and their needs and what they're saying, rather than sitting in silos and just doing their own thing.
and then obviously we just talked about potentially how busy these customers are. Are they quite vocal? Do you have a dialogue? Is it something that you have quite an open, be it virtually, but you do get a lot of feedback from them?
Uh, Plenty of feedback. We have a complaints line, so we have they can send a complaint for escalation. We send NPS, Net Promoter Score. They
Wow.
have that. They have so many chances to provide feedback. And then some of the naughty ones will go to Trustpilot and just put a bad review, and then they'll get all the attention. But yeah, the customer has so much power today compared to
They
10,
do.
15 years ago, and it's good. It keeps us on our toes.
There's no hiding, is there? And whether it's all bona fide and correct, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. You've just got.
it
I
doesn't
suppose the
matter.
idea is you make sure you please the other 99.9%, and
Yeah,
it floods it positively the other way, isn't it? Because
yeah.
some people will just decide
They
and
will
take that.
if
So you've had, we can safely say, Anthony, a lot of success. You've not There's not many people I've met that have successfully founded and built three different businesses, be it in a similar sector, but certainly different things. So what do you put that success down to? Have you ever sat there at the end of a day with a little glass of wine and thought to yourself, "Oh, what have I done?" You can be a bit bashful here if you want.
Yeah, no, I think what one thing to remember though is that I've learned is because the initial the web DIY platform wasn't a success,
Yeah, yeah,
and one of the reasons was you have to realize that just because you have a success, the next startup is it all starts all over again.
yeah,
You're new. Don't think that that experience is, and a lot of the past experience doesn't necessarily help you, which is why I think young people should start businesses because you don't need experience. In
yeah.
fact, the first business the less experience, sometimes experience hurts you, especially in this day and age when so much has changed from 5 years ago.
Hmm.
All the right decisions for XLN are wrong today for
Yeah,
us. In fact, XLN was a telecoms company. bOnline is a software company in the
yeah.
telecom space. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
just happens to be in the
completely
same.
different.
So the only link is the
Same.
sector, not the
It's
offer at all.
yeah. And everything we do is contrary to what worked at XLN. And so and that's why the incumbents, they were, XLN was a challenger. Today it's a legacy company and they'll never make it to,
Yeah.
there's too many challengers today as software companies that will take their lunch. And so I think it's really important when you start again, you start fresh and new, and don't look at what you've done in the past. The past success it's a
Or
different
actually,
era.
remember to your point there. Remember the actually past failures, and make sure you have learnt from those. So,
Absolutely, especially.
do you think there's a reason why more people don't start businesses? Is there that fear? Do you think of failure? Is that angle or?
I think. I think it's yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, the biggest challenge is funds, right? You need funds,
Hmm.
but you don't in today's world, you need less funds because everything's there on SaaS basis. You don't need to build things. You don't need to have a,
Yeah.
host computers at your office. Everything is so easy and quick. So I think, yeah, I'm not sure if there's more businesses. I see lots of startups. I see that there's, tech round just, I'm judging their entrance and the businesses that have submitted applications. They're amazing businesses. I mean, everything
Mm.
from, helping vehicle batteries to some communications for small and medium-sized companies, just all kinds of SaaS companies. And, they had, I don't know, 70, 80 entrants. They're all, amazing businesses. Um, some or most are getting funding. So I think today's we have a great environment for starting businesses. Um, there is an infrastructure. The UK is a great place, still the best, probably I would say the best place in Europe to start a
Hmm.
business.
Hmm.
You really have a great infrastructure here. So we intend to expand to France, Germany, Netherlands, and I'm sure it's going to be more difficult to start up operations there than it's been here,
Yeah.
in the UK. So
But
I think
again, you've got, yeah. Sorry, keep going.
I'm surprised. There are lots of businesses starting up. I think it's still, there were times where it was more in vogue to start up a company. I know it's been a difficult period now with less funding from VCs, but that
Yeah.
shouldn't stop someone from starting a business today. If you have a good idea, you're solving a problem, and you have some expertise or knowledge, you can bring that knowledge together, then, you should start. Yeah,
I think
absolutely. If you have a,
I think that's it, isn't it? Just being very clear. You spoke about it. What you're solving for your customer.
yeah,
It sounds a very basic statement, but it's crucial because then you know how to build a product out. And people forget that. They just have an idea and think that could be good. But unless you're clear, you might talk a lot about what you do rather than why you're doing it and what you're solving. And I think that's a big, big difference. But obviously, it's hard work, isn't it, as well?
it's hard
This
work. Don't
success
do
you're
it
sitting
because
here
yeah,
enjoying is not
yeah,
like oh yeah, I was finishing at 5 every night. It was great. And
yeah.
had the weekends off. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
happen that
Don't
way.
don't don't do it just because you don't want a 9 to 6 job. That's the wrong reason. There has to be, there has to be a bit of fire that you want to change something in the industry, solve something, and otherwise it's a lot more work than just getting a
Yeah.
normal job.
But the rewards are there,
So,
aren't they? Because when you grow something,
absolutely,
it's the
yeah.
greatest feeling in the world, I think. But
Oh,
yeah,
it's every day seeing a customer, customers using your product and saying how much they love it is really for the staff members, for everyone, for the whole team. It's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So you talked a bit about investment there. Have you ever taken in external investment as you've grown any of the businesses?
Yes, yes. All the businesses. Euroffice was a VC. We struggled. We almost shut down then. And then, by chance we kept going. I remember having our last Christmas party. We said, that's it, we're closing. Fire alarm went off and they gave us a refund. That gave us another week and we kept going. And then we found a VC come in with £1 million. Tough
I love
days.
that
Those were tough.
story. The fact that you got your beer money back and food money
Yeah, it's
back, and you. But that's why there's a great belief, going back to when you do start your own thing, and if you've got a pure vision and you're prepared to work hard, I'm a great believer. There's a plan there that you don't know about. Somebody, something happened to switch that alarm off that gave you that movement there, and then you met this person here, and you've got to believe that, haven't you? You've got to
Yeah,
believe
I
that.
mean, you don't want to give up. You go
Yeah,
till the end, and it's and one thing leads to the next. Even you don't know what's down the line, and I think most important is people talk about luck. One thing I've learned more recently is go out, meet people. This is how the partners I've met today, the best partners was by chance at a dinner, at a event, industry event, awards. We enter all awards. We're up for 5 awards this year. We just won the Comms Council one for best SOHO VoIP provider.
Brilliant.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. And you just meet people there. You meet and that's what it opens up your chance of being lucky. You finding the right partner, the right recruit.
And I think
Um,
that's something that when I first started on the agency side, working in agencies, and that was it. You were out certainly 2 or 3 lunchtimes a week, and you were out 2 or 3 nights a week. And I was young, straight out of uni, so it was like the natural thing to do. But
yeah,
I still work with the majority of those clients that were at my junior level then, who've now got luckily to senior level. And we talk about it's our black book, it's our network, but they're where the relationships are
yeah,
made that are still reaping
yeah,
dividends for both of us because we've got absolute trust in
absolutely.
each other, and they know if they come to me, I'll get that done for them. But I think COVID, that has been for me in our
Yeah,
industry, has been one of the biggest bad fallouts badly because people got the habit of being with people,
yeah,
and obviously most of those things are out of work, so you are putting yourself out from
yeah,
private life, but
yeah.
depends where your drive is, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's, if you do it, if it's once or a couple times a month, I
Yeah,
think it's something we never did at XLN. We never did. We were very, almost running the company in a bubble.
yeah.
We never, we just never went to industry events, and I think that's dangerous because you don't know what you're missing out on. You don't know your blind spots, and just talking to people is industry experts can really be an eye opener, and we
It
do
is.
that often now.
It is completely that. It's that sliding doors moment where you just bump into
Yeah,
someone
you
and they
bump
say
into
something, you're like,
yeah,
oh my word, yeah.
yeah,
Because they are. Because there'll be someone there with a similar sort of thing. They've got an agenda in a good way that they want to meet, whatever. And if you're there, you've got a chance of doing it, haven't
yeah,
you?
yeah, and
So
all our best partners we've met through just these events.
in
It's
real
just
life, as the
bumping in
kids say,
in real life. Yeah, that's
there you go. We are down with the kids. We know this stuff. I don't know where my business partner Mitch here has just done we've got a big social team, and they've just had him do basically a TikTok using all the language that my 16-year-old, 15-year-old daughter will use. And it's absolutely brilliant. So he did that, but then we've had to do one with subtitles on because most of the market went, what does it all mean? It's brilliant. I'll send you it. It's fantastic. And that's what we're trying to navigate nowadays, isn't it? Especially as your
yeah.
customers come
I,
through and they're younger and the language and
well,
stuff.
it's amazing what I mean. I've got my 12-year-old when we launched the new platform. He said, "Well, why do you have an old iPhone on there on the App Store?" And we didn't, none of us even realized. And he said, "Well, that's a 12. You should have a
Yeah.
16 or 15."
Yeah.
And I mean, they just think different. But
It's amazing,
yeah,
yeah. It's amazing what they see, and that's just it, isn't it?
yeah,
That's been on every design as you've gone through that development of that platform, and
yeah,
everybody's ignored it now.
yeah, yeah,
You need you
yeah,
need
yeah,
those
exactly.
new eyes on it, yeah. So, as a leader, then, what kind of leader are you, Anthony? Because you've obviously built some very successful companies, so there's some good DNA in there. Can you capture what kind of leader you are?
Yeah, I mean, I like to, you know, leading with gut feel. A lot of people talk about gut feel, but we use so much data. Everything's backed by data. And I like everyone, the whole senior management team. Um, I want them all, they've all had data training. They all know
Yeah.
how to analyze, they all know Python to pull whatever data they need. And it's very important that when we're always backing up our decisions with data because there's too many blind spots otherwise. And I also ask them to come once a week with external information, knowledge, because again, we are in a bubble. The bOnline bubble is, the senior managers all talking together. If we don't bring ideas from outside, podcasts, anything, and they should
Uh,
each present something new that they've learned
and you can
from.
get them to look at from different sectors. You basically look and borrow and steal from everything.
Well, if the CFO, for example, has to be on all the finance podcasts and she just came up with, if we get this really nice ERP, we can just press a button and get management accounts done. We don't need to wait 3 days. That's the kind of, and if you don't do that, you're just operating in this your little bubble that's eventually your competitors, or you need to stay ahead of everything. And the
Yeah.
smartest, someone told me, an investor told me, the smartest people are outside your company. It's hard when they tell you that, but it's true. The smartest people are outside. They're not in your company. And when you realize that, you go out and seek that
Yeah.
knowledge. And there's so much knowledge outside of for us, outside bOnline. And so
I
I'm
love it.
glad we've gone out and we do that every week, constantly, listening to podcasts, listening to reading, going to industry events.
Yeah,
It's
and you say
really important.
every day becomes a school day, but then positively you.
It's exactly that. Learning machines, we call them,
Yeah.
when we hire people, can they become these will they learn continually? Because everything we do today, and we keep saying that the company looks completely different than a year ago. A year ago, we didn't have our platform. It's completely new. Our brand is completely new. We did a big branding project.
Yeah.
Our office is new. Everything's new. So we're constantly changing. And I think change is good. And when you see managers that are not changing and they're stuck on their, comfort zone, that's dangerous. And that's where you need to, it's important to have the right people in the organization. And I put a lot of emphasis on culture and values, and of course that's always important because the wrong values is toxic. You need to you move fast. You need to replace the wrong people quickly.
And it's interesting. It sounds like the change though is driven, from what I'm hearing from you, by a desire to constantly improve the service to the customer that you've got very much in front of mind every minute of every day. So you're not just saying, oh, we'll just have a new platform because it's cool. You're saying we can give a better service to keep those customers for longer, to recruit new customers, to have better advocates.
Absolutely. One of my favorite books, there's so many business books out there, but I think one of the best ones is Working Backwards, the two senior
I'll make a note of that.
Amazon managers. It's how they worked at Amazon. It's great. If you work backwards with everything, say, okay, I want customers to love the product, NPS 60, 70, churn minimum, and everything you do, once you set those targets, we work backwards and say, okay, what needs to be done in order to reach that? Well, we need a product that's just seamless. It just works. So we created a project. It just works. And our new product is so much better than the old one, which was with a different partner. And you can see NPS score is 50 versus -10 on the old one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if
So
anybody doesn't know much about NPS scores, 50 is out of there, out of this
yeah,
world. If you got 0, you're okay. Normally, you're quite happy,
yeah,
but 50 that is amazing.
yeah. Customers
Especially,
are very happy.
especially with you've got how many customers have you got? You've got a lot, haven't you?
We have 35,000 customers. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's a lot of people to keep
yeah,
happy to get an NPS
yeah.
score of that. So that's incredible.
It's
Um,
and it's the platform again. It's working backwards. A year and a half ago, we said this is not working. In order to get a higher NPS and fix the business, we need a new platform, which means new partner, which means and everything else that comes with it. So it's almost like thinking from a top-down pyramid approach, where you start with your top goals and then work all
yeah.
the way down. OKRs, many companies call it that, but for us, it all comes together nicely when you work backwards from the same objective. We have three objectives across the company, all the senior managers, and we all help. We're all working towards that same three
I think
objectives.
I think what's interesting is so that objective is incredibly measurable and to a degree binary.
Yeah,
Yes, there's colour that comes with an NPS
yeah,
score, but it helps, doesn't it? Rather than just going, yeah, we'll have this
yeah,
much. It's just that you always know, well, look, this is causing
yeah,
a problem, right? We've got to rebuild the
yeah,
platform, guys.
yeah.
It's
And
not
and
because you
having the
want to do, it's because you have to do if you want to hit your target.
yeah, and we started with churn. Churn needs to be 15%, not 25%. So now we have the data is also important. We have churn by cohorts. You can see every month and by platform, and that's real time. I can click every day and see each platform what the churn is, and you can see, churn on our new platform is 16, 17%. It's lower than our target of 20, and so which is very good for the micro small business space
Yeah.
because that's versus the old platform. You can see, it's much higher. It's
So I'm
important to have the
assuming,
data for everyone to
well,
see how we're doing and what's
yeah,
good, what is not good.
because again, it helps, doesn't it, when you're leading to say, look, guys, we've signed up to this vision, this plan, and this measurement
Yeah,
of it. It's quite clear. It's not me thinking you're not doing a good job. It's like the data is
yeah,
telling me, let's just check
exactly.
that, validate it. And if it is, right, this is what we've got to do. So I'm assuming your team, your senior team has had to change and evolve quite a lot over the period of that bOnline's been in existence because
In fact,
it's like not
we have a
recognizable.
new we have a new head of sales and a new head of service as
Yeah.
of since this year alone. So as you grow, the people that helped you from startup to where we are today are not necessarily the same. They were good when we were smaller. Now we have, two new, and our CTO, which we changed our CTO about 3 years ago. CFO was new since 4 years. So, you have to be ready to make those difficult decisions.
And
And it's just takes different skills, and it's easier to bring someone new who has those skills already than to try to change someone who's not ready or willing or uh, able. Not everyone's able to make that jump from a
do you
small
try where
company.
you can to have a succession plan in key businesses? Because part of it is trying to extract that experience and wash it through a system, isn't it?
Well, at some point I've reached my capabilities. You have to be, you can be a founder, but doesn't mean you can run any company. So
Very much
if
so,
you
yeah.
know your limit, you need to know your limitations. And at some point, if we went public, I would not be the right person to run the
Yeah.
company. So it's very clear. And so uh, and I always tell the investors, if there's someone else who can run this company better than me, then absolutely, let's bring them in. Let's create
Yeah.
more value.
Because I think
Yeah,
people get mixed up with that from an external point of view. There is a business that you have a shareholding in that is your
yeah,
ultimate value, and there is a role you are doing, and the
yeah,
two can be separated. Because I think people just
absolutely.
assume
Yeah,
I'm the boss, I've
yeah,
got the shares,
yeah,
do as I say. But then that's maybe cutting your own nose off to spite your face, where you could
yeah,
be somebody could come in with super. There's a brilliant. I'll plug another podcast which is High Performance, and they had Paul Barber from Brighton um, Football Club, who's the chief
yeah,
exec there, and he talks a lot about succession, but he talks about that actual point that yes, he was a guy to get them out of the Championship. Yes, he was a guy to get them from the bottom half of the Premier League to the top half. But he now believes he's not the guy once they get,
yeah,
and obviously
yeah,
they've had a bump this year, or last season, sorry, where they were in the Champions League and they weren't ready for it. And he said, I
yeah,
think I've hit my sell by date. And it's an
yeah,
incredible skill to be able to do that because a lot don't, and that's why businesses grow and then
yeah.
burn very brightly
Yeah,
the
yeah.
wrong
Know
way.
know when to stop or exit.
Yeah,
That's it's very important.
brilliant,
And
brilliant.
you see, so yeah, it's so I'm realistic, and our whole management team, need to know where their capabilities end.
Yeah. I assume that if that ever came to it, you'd start something else. You can't not from looking at your track record. There's certainly a
Yeah,
pattern there now, isn't there?
yeah. It's I'm not employable,
Yeah,
so that's the
there you
only
go.
it's the
That's a
only
very
thing to do,
polite way of
really.
saying it, isn't it? Yeah, that's the
So
thing. So go on then. Let's just finish off because we've that's been just such an interesting journey. If you were to go back to those days of starting out with your office, or and what you tap yourself on the shoulder, what piece of advice would you give yourself? Do you think that would help the most to redo that journey?
I would tell myself life is short and not to take so long to do everything. We just took too long to do everything.
Okay.
And of course, in hindsight, it's easy, but I still think we wasted too much time. We could have done things better and
Yeah.
faster
I think,
and not waste time. It's the same thing with bOnline, the DIY website. I could have much earlier. I could have made a decision and said, okay, we need to pivot to
yeah.
something to VoIP.
A lot of people have talked about that, because like you've got to go through the pain, otherwise you don't develop, you don't
Yeah,
learn. Because without
yeah,
that
yeah.
feeling in your tummy that you go, I don't ever want that again, please, you don't develop as a person.
But
But
as an entrepreneur, you think, oh well, pain is good. I will persevere. But sometimes you just need to say, okay, stop, enough. Let's do something else.
yeah, they all
So
they
and
all they all said that it was like, yeah, I'd had a bit of pain. I should have made that decision rather than just
yeah,
belligerently carried on going, no, I can
yeah,
bring it through this. It's like, no,
yeah,
you've got to notice when things have to change.
exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. Anthony, thank you so much. I've loved having you on the podcast. It's been so interesting to hear your story, and there's some incredible lessons. So thanks for sharing those with us.
Thank you, Steve. Enjoyed it. Thank you.